work for melanated women like you. Also, thanks to the men who have joined us today. So as you're coming in, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Please make sure to click the notification bell and click the word all so that you receive your notifications no matter what. Also, don't forget that you can visit us at Shop F&Q to purchase lovely items to give to gifts to your friends and family, or even for yourself. Also, if you have any questions about business, such as starting your own black business, please be sure you subscribe to flynubianbusiness.com. Hey, Jawara, Grand Rising. If you have any questions about money, investments, making more revenue for yourself, please be sure to subscribe to flynubianmoney.com. Text Queens to 31996 for occasional notifications and alerts. And don't forget that you can download our podcast and watch us on the go by going to iTunes and typing in Fly Nubian Queen Network. Okay? Hey, Jacqueline, Miss Makita, Ricardo, all things Leisha. Grand rising to you all. So peace and blessings, everyone. Jack Brown, Kathy. Okay, so thanks everyone for tuning in. So let's go ahead and get into it and talk about these crazy police, okay? Let's talk about these. Peace and love to you, Jack. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about these police. Now, first story I want to talk about is the NYPD police officer known as the Ass Man. Excuse my French, but that's what he's called, okay? That's what he's known as. Had a culture of raping, sodomizing suspects. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. On a late January morning in 2015, Carletta Allen was sitting in a car parked in front of his house in the Bronx when two men ran up to the car with guns drawn. Allen thought he was being robbed, according to a federal civil rights lawsuit that he filed in 2016. He tried to lock the door, but one of the men burst in and grabbed him, threw him to the ground, and jumped on top of him. A second man told Allen that he'd been looking for him, punched him in the back, punched him in the face, and then jumped on his back. He says, "I don't have any money. Don't shoot," Allen recalled saying, right before a car full of policemen with sirens pulled up. They said he's resisting, and then three more officers jumped on top of him. He went home that night with a broken hand. He said, "I felt someone punching me in my upper torso and face," Allen claimed in the lawsuit. He added that he tried to yell for help but was rapidly losing consciousness. He said, "I felt a blow to the back of my head and went out." Now, the plainclothes officers, now do you hear this? These fools didn't even have on uniform. They were plain clothes. Now, you see how crazy this is? Let me continue. The plainclothes officers who Allen said jumped him were police officer Joseph A. Tass and Jeremiah Williams, a special detective from the 47th Precinct in the Bronx. They did not identify themselves as belonging to the New York Police Department, according to his lawsuit, which was eventually dismissed last year after a jury found that Allen, who did not have legal representation, could not prove the officer's use of excessive force. I would think that a broken hand would be sufficient for that. Now, according to a report by The Appeal, Williams testified that he pursued Allen because he was smoking a marijuana cigarette and that he found a gun on Allen, a claim that Allen pled guilty to in the state court and later disputed in federal court. Allen was later caught up in a hugely controversial mass sweep, and Williams testified against him at trial. Now, in the wake of the sustained protest against police brutality in the recent weeks, the NYPD announced that the particularly violent plainclothes unit has been disbanded. It was one of a series of reforms promised by Governor Andrew Cuomo and New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, who have also floated ideas such as changing police priorities, reallocating funding, and speeding up disciplinary procedures in cases in which officers cause substantial injury to a civilian. He said, "You don't need to protest. You won," Cuomo told Black Lives Matter's protesters on June the 14th. He said, "You accomplished your goal. Society says you're right. The police need systemic reform. No, they don't need systemic reform. They need to be defunded and dismantled. There's no amount of reform that's going to change them from the culture of criminalistic behavior that they always engage in. Activists are wary that the promised reforms will do nothing to address NYPD's culture of impunity. The officers from the plainclothes unit, for example, were merely reshuffled into other jobs. A move one activist recently described as the Intercept as a shell game on Tuesday. Now, New York City's council passed a budget that includes shifting $1 billion in funds away from NYPD. A move protesters and progressive lawmakers say is a cosmetic change that will do little to change the nature of their policing. The reforms cooked up by the mayor and governor aren't going to fix this, said Alan Vitale, a professor of sociology and the coordinator of the Policing and Social Justice Project at Brooklyn College. Both Bill de Blasio and Andrew Cuomo in particular have cozied up to police and correctional unions across the state. Meanwhile, de Blasio is differential towards them. He could order the commissioner to clean house, to fire certain officers, but yet he refuses to do it. Now, the NYPD's Risk Management Bureau, which is supposed to identify problem officers, ends up protecting the bad cops, according to Vitale, who is the author of The End of Policing. It's damage control. And there are well-documented cases of officers who are seriously out of control. Firing those officers is consistent with the defund movement. That's not saying that we don't need any officers. That's saying fewer officers, and let's start with the worst ones to get rid of. Now, based on a history of official complaints and lawsuits naming him, Williams may be a prime example of where they need to start. Over the course of Williams's 18-year career with NYPD, he has had 60 complaints, 21 separate incidents that were lodged against him with Civilian Complaint Review Board, an independent agency that investigates NYPD misconduct complaints according to records obtained via a public records request. Followed the recent repeal of a 50A and a controversial law that shielded officers' misconduct records from public view. So they're getting these misconduct documentations and complaints, but they're able to hide it from public view. That's what they had in the policy, so people wouldn't find out about it. Now, 21% have had only one complaint, 3% have had 5, while 9% have had more than 6. In between 2008 and 2018, there were 11 lawsuits with Williams named as the culprit, usually including other officers as well, alleging police misconduct like excessive force and wrongful arrest, according to CapStats, a project that tracks NYPD misconduct claims. Now, Williams has been accused of 4 times, listen to this, Williams has been accused 4 times of anally penetrating a suspect, according to a CCRB complaints reviewed by the Intercept, as well as a federal lawsuit reported by the Appeal. In a 2017 trial, Allen's attorneys asked Williams if that conduct had earned him the nickname Ass Man in the neighborhood. He disputed the moniker's origins, and the Appeal reported citing court records. And as recently as last year, he was accused again in CCRB of a complaint of using a chokehold during an arrest. Now, that practice has been under intense scrutiny in New York ever since the killing in 2014 of Eric Garner. Yet it was not until last month that Cuomo signed a bill banning it. The chokehold complaint, like 31 of the 60 allegations against Williams, were found by the CCRB to be unsubstantiated, which means that the board did not have enough evidence to reach a definitive conclusion either way, according to the CCRB website. Now, only 2 allegations stemming from the same complaint, meanwhile, were found to be unfounded, meaning the CCRB had enough evidence to say that they were baseless. Williams was exonerated of the 3 complaints, while 5 were found to be substantiated, including one related to a strip search. Now, in 18 of the complaints, the complainant or the victim was listed as being uncooperative, which means that after filing an initial complaint, the CCRB lost contact with the complainant, or the complainant did not want to provide a signed statement. For almost 20 years, Williams and other officers of the 47th Precinct have been accused of inflicting abuses upon people in the Bronx. And this is according to records reviewed by The Intercept. But even the egregious actions Williams has been accused of may not fall under the vague serious bodily injury standard that de Blasio has identified as a crackdown against the system. But even if, a big if, de Blasio and Cuomo's reforms get the most abusive officers fired, it's not clear how they change the larger culture that's enabled the abuses in the first place. In the complaints against them, it appears that Williams never acted alone, as other officers were also named. His partners and other officers on the scene have been accused of engaging in abuses like restricting a person's breathing, as laid out in a 2019 CCRB complaint that was never resolved because the complainant did not cooperate. Now, when Allen's hand was broken during the 2015 arrest, he showed an officer at the precinct his protruding bone. Are you kidding me? This was according to the lawsuit. Yet, rather than discipline Williams for the unruly arrest, the department awarded Williams an $11,000 raise soon after. Of the 11 lawsuits against Williams, the two of them have been publicly settled, and this is with the city. One was $95,000. The remaining 9 are either still pending or have an unknown outcome, according to CAP stats. Now, when they were asked about Williams' record, the NYPD referenced New York's recent appeal 50-A. The department is committed to transparency and long advocated reforms. Since the law was repealed last week, the department has received a significant number of requests for disciplinary actions and records that have been prohibited from being disclosed. The department declined to make Williams available for comment, and de Blasio's office did not respond to a request for comment. Let me tell you something. Hey, Cornelius. Hey, Liz. Hey, Monique. It needs to put under there. Hey, Charisma. Listen, Nick Joe. Listen. Here is the thing. Now, do you hear how they gave him an $11,000 raise? I have told you before that police often get rewarded for bad behavior. And this is an incentive and gives them all the reason to behave this way. First of all, they're not going to get in trouble 9 times out of 10. There's a culture of them keeping silent and no one else speaking up or out, right? And for them lying in incident reports, lying in front of review boards, okay? And sticking together and getting their stories put together before they even do the report. So they have a culture of this thing, all right? And here's the thing. I told you also, not only did he get that $11,000 for his bad behavior, got no type of punishment, no type of consequences. And he had numerous complaints. So with that all being said, every time he did these things, other officers were involved. So even if they fired him today, what about the rest of the officers who are still doing the same things he's doing? They may not have been the head of it or the ones who initiated it, but they were complicit. So with that being said, if you cut off the head, likely another one would just grow back. So reform is clearly not the answer. It is beyond ridiculous and insidiously obtuse for them to think anything other than the fact that they need to be defunded. And here's another thing. I told you all weeks ago how when the police shoot someone, whether they kill them or not, they're allowed to collect benefits for this. It's called PTSD benefits, post-traumatic stress benefits. They can claim that they're stressed out, that they have feelings of grief, despair, whatever, they're distraught from shooting someone, when they usually are not feeling that way. They don't care. I told you, I've seen them myself kill someone and go to Chick-fil-A and buy food and sit down and eat and laugh and talk. So they're getting paid $30,000 for filing these post-traumatic stress disorder benefits. They're getting workman's comp, paid vacations, which is administrative leaves, paid administrative leaves. And then they get raises. Now, why on earth would they stop doing the things they do? And here's the thing. I told you numerous of times, many of these people are serial killers. They're hedonistic and they have fetishes because they're into sadomasochism, which means they not only like receiving pain sexually, but they like instilling it. Some of them get a rise out of beating the crap out of people. Okay? And listen, here is something also. When they choke these victims, not the ones that they kill, but when they choke them, like they said, they have had numerous cases where they had tried to restrict a person's breathing. Do you know that is something called, that's like a thrill of asphyxiation. It's like when you choke someone to the brink of death, and this is what a lot of serial killers do, pay attention. You choke someone to the brink of death, and then you stop, and you let them come back. And then you choke them again, and then you stop, and you let them come back. This is what sick people like this do. You see, they get a kick out of this. Why else would they be choking people to death or choking people just to restrict their breathing, and then they stop? And then there was just a video that I saw days ago where the cops, in fact, had this man who was mentally ill down on the ground, had his hands behind his back, a knee in the center of his back, and the man's face was flat down on the ground, and he kept trying to turn his face to the side. He kept saying that he couldn't breathe. And they laughed and joked and told him, oh, we're going to buy you some new shoes for school. Making fun of him because he obviously, didn't have the mental capacity because he was like schizophrenic and had other mental issues. And he was on medication, but he called them for help. This poor man called them for help because he was paranoid and afraid, and he was off his meds. But instead of helping him, they killed him. And even after he was dead, then they laughed and joked and said, oh, I hope I didn't kill him. You okay, bud? You okay, bud? You're okay. This is what they say after they kill you. Shoot you and then tell you to freeze, tell you put your hands behind your back. I saw them shoot a guy 4 times one time, this black kid. He was like 14 years old. Shot him while he was running. When he fell to the ground, blood was everywhere. They're telling him to get up and put his hands behind his back. He's struggling to sit up, literally dying. And these are the things they do. Now, you tell me these people are demonic entities. You tell me these people are human. They're absolutely not human. These are psychopaths and sociopaths patrolling the streets of everyone's neighborhoods. And these are the nefarious plots and schemes that they're going out perpetuating on society, black society mainly. And they want to talk about reforms and say that, tell Black Lives Matters that they're right, society agrees with you. No, society does not agree with that. Nobody thinks with common sense and critical thinking skills that they need reform. They need to all be in prison is where they really need to be, but we know we're not going to get that. So at the very least, could they get rid of them? Black people, you need to get a gun because let me tell you something. Arm yourselves because these demons who attacked that man and broke his hand to the bone was protruding. Let me tell you something. They had on plain clothes. If you have on plain clothes and you attack me, I don't care who you work for, what you do for a living. I'm going to assume that you are there to kill me. You are an imminent threat. You are a domestic terrorist, and I am going to try to kill you first. The first rule of nature is self-preservation, period. Now, black people, if at this point in the game you are walking around without a gun, you need to really reconsider your life. That's what you need to do. Really reconsider your life. Now, I don't condone just going out and attacking people, but I do condone attacking them when they attack you. And if they're trying to kill you, well, you better put your back against the wall and fight like hell, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, okay? That's what you need to do. Because these people are clearly crazy. They are absolutely crazy. Yes, they are demons straight out of hell, Selvin. Yes, they are. Okay? Ridiculous. Oh, let me just calm down a notch because I get so upset about stuff like this. And they're getting rewarded. How does that even make sense? That's why I keep telling you all, they are giving us nothing but nothing burgers. The police are the psychotic evil killers who abuse and harass people. Yes, Lamont, they are. White female cops, they're just as bad. Yes, they certainly are. Yuki. Chris Norwood, facts. Let me tell you something. This is all so ridiculous. Really ridiculous. Anyway, family, if you haven't subscribed to the Fly Nubian Queen Network, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe. Be sure to click the notification bell and click the word all so you get those notifications when any of us go live, okay? That includes me and anyone else, all the other ladies as well. Ye are of your father devil. Yes, they absolutely are. Quagelin. I hope I said your name right. May they roast in the hell on earth. Right, Jawara. They need to. Oh my goodness. Are you serious? In the meantime, people, if you need any apparel or gifts that you want to give to friends and family, or even for yourself, feel free to visit us at shopfnq.com, okay? Don't forget to text Queens to 31996 for occasional notifications and alerts. But listen, and then let me tell you about this. This is how sick and depraved they are, right? Now, you have this one cop who's anally raping people, sodomizing them, and he's even known by the other cops and the neighborhood as the ass man, but yet he still has a job. He's been there for over 19 years. Does anybody think this is crazy other than me? Hold on. But meanwhile, in Richmond County, a cop was fired for indecent exposure, okay? He was in the jacuzzi at a hotel, and he was pleasuring himself, apparently, is what they say. So once this was reported, he was fired. Find it funny that he was fired so quickly without an investigation for fondling himself, but when they go out and kill an unarmed black person, they can stay on the job. How does that make sense? Anyway, I digress. This is also sick. You know what it seems to me, people? I'm going to tell you what it seems like to me. It seems like to me that they actually get the police officers, many of them. These are demons, race soldiers. Yes, absolutely. Yes, very crazy, Nick Joe. So here's the thing. Here is the thing. Check this out. So basically, these people are engaging on all of these nefarious acts. And Cuomo, as far as I'm concerned, he's complicit in it. You see, he doesn't want to punish them. He's really he's a law enforcement, right? Law and order. That's what he is. Just like Trump, just like Governor Kemp. This is what he is. So all he's going to do is try to put a Band-Aid over the problem, which is not going to fix it. Just continuously give out nothing burgers, talking about systemic reform. See, notice the words he uses, systemic reform, like he's going to try to change things throughout. He's not going to change anything. As we've seen, when they banned the chokehold, they didn't ban it because they just said they did. Because here's the thing. Right now, before they ever said anything about banning the chokehold, the officers would use it to kill people, right? And then when they were investigated or questioned about it, they would say they feared for their lives. So when they say that they banned it in New York, they still give them a window to say that they fear for their lives. They say it's banned except in the cases where the officer fears for his life or the safety of others. So that's still giving them the right to use it the same way they've always used it. How is it banned if that is the case? If you ban something, you don't allow it to be used again ever. It's not banned. They just dressed it up. A degenerative vine from a corrupt branch. Absolutely. It seems to me like they get many of these officers from the human reject pile. That's what it seems like. That's what it seems like. And he got a raise. He should be gone. Yes, he absolutely should be gone. It's beyond crazy. Anyway, let me go on to the next topic. Now, I don't know how many of you patronize Starbucks. I don't. Because I'm not paying $5 and $6 for a cup of coffee ever. I've never patronized them. So remember a couple of years ago when they kicked the black men out, the two real estate agents, for waiting on their friends. Then there was shortly after another incident where they put a black man out because he simply asked to use the restroom and he had actually purchased something. But nevertheless, white people are allowed to sit in there for hours, right? Whether they're continuously purchasing anything or not, and use their laptops and do their work and use the Wi-Fi. But anyway, they've always had a history of being discriminatory against black people. So recently, there was a Muslim lady who was in there. Her name was Aisha. Now, she went and then ordered a cup of coffee. They didn't ask her name. And before she was given the coffee, they wrote on her cup, ISIS. ISIS. That's what they wrote on her cup, simply because she's a Muslim. Here's what I'd like to know. Why is it that racists behind white people love to try to call other people terrorists or insinuate and imply that, in fact, Muslims are the real terrorists, when everybody with common sense knows that the biggest threat to America, as far as terrorism is concerned, are crazy, idiotic, sick, psychopathic, sociopathic white men Who commits all the mass shootings here? I will wait. Vanilla ISIS is who they need to be concerned with, not the Muslims. When's the last time we had a Muslim attack? I'll wait. This is what they do. They love to point the finger at black people. They love to point the finger at Muslims. But they are the terrorists. They're global terrorists, not just domestic. They're literally global terrorists. Because you see, they go from country to country, from continent to continent, from shore to shore, causing murder, mayhem, and mischief, pillaging, raping, stealing, you name it, committing genocide, creating wars. This is what they do. And they have the nerve to try to call somebody ISIS. It is so hilarious to me. And I was looking at a video just earlier this morning where a white guy who was with Black Lives Matters was, I guess, he went somewhere where all these Confederate idiot racist demons were. And so there was numerous of them. And so they were all telling him to get out. It was like some type of cemetery, I guess, where they buried the soldiers or something like that, certain soldiers or whatever. And they asked him why he was there. He said he was there to visit the grave of his great-grandfather or some relative, right? So they went to talking trash and telling him to get out of there and asking him why he cared about black lives and all lives matter, not black lives matter, it's all lives matter. And the guy was like, well, if all lives matter, that would include black lives, right? And they were saying white lives matter, all lives matter. So this big to-do started. They were about to attack him or whatever. The police showed up. So the police started telling him that he needed to leave. Now, they said they're not ordering him to leave, but he needs to de-escalate the situation. He said that if it's something like this going on, you need to de-escalate the situation. And if you feel like you're in danger, and that's what it looks like, you may just want to leave because these people are pretty upset. Then the officer went on to say that he was there to protect and serve and that his job as an officer is, in fact, to de-escalate the situation. Now, I found all of this very funny and quite entertaining, seeing as how I don't remember the last time that I saw a white race soldier de-escalate anything. I don't recall. I don't see them de-escalating anything. In fact, they escalate and instigate. That's what they do when they show up on the scene. And I found it also very interesting that though there were numerous people harassing this man and attacking him while he was minding his own business, in fact, he was about to leave the premises when they rolled up. And they stopped him and blocked his way. And then continued to harass him. And make him explain to them why he was there and what he had been doing. And when he told them that he was there to visit the grave of a relative, they demanded to know the relative's name and what plot he was buried on. This is what they were asking. So he answered all of their questions, but they still wouldn't let him leave. Surrounded him, started making threats and talking crazy, and shouting all lives matter. But the police were talking to him as if he was the problem. And telling him that he's upset them so that he needs to leave. You see, the police are perfectly complicit and always in cahoots with white non-supremacy. This is what they do. They side with white non-supremacy. And this is what emboldens these people. This is what gives them the kahunas to go out here and start all of this trouble and instigate incidents with black people when they think they have the upper hand. Which clearly they've seen lately that they don't. Okay? That they don't. Now, while there are some docile black people who will sit there and cry or get choked up at the thought of a white non-supremacist talking crazy to them, most black people, they're not having it. Clearly, black people are fed up. Okay? As we should be. But here's the thing, though. I said all that to say this. As I sat there and looked at the lot of them gathered there on that day, the big, huge pot bellies that look like they belong to Santa Claus himself, jolly old Saint Nick, big, huge protruding bellies, right? And with skinny, knobby little legs and knees. And as I looked at them with their greasy, stringy, lice-ridden hair, and I looked at the faces, the pale skin, and the sheer disgust, and the dust that seemed to emanate from them. As I looked at them, I thought to myself, if I were them, I would hate black people too. But these are the people who try to act as though they're superior. It is a joke. They are a joke. These people walking around looking like, You know, they kind of reminded me, a few of those guys there with their scraggly beards and mustaches looking so dusty and stank, like just hillbilly-ridden rednecks, right? They kind of reminded me of an Easter egg with legs, okay? That's how they were shaped. And the women, the Becketts, the Karens, the Sues, they were just as equally a mess. And I looked at them and I said, you know what? This is why they hate black people. Clearly. This is why, people. And when you look at them and you know that even the sun burns them, what does that tell you? That should tell us the fact that the sun doesn't even agree with their existence should tell us everything we need to know about them. They do not belong here. And they know it. They know it. And that's why they're mad. This is why they're in a constant state of rage against black people. This is why. Constant anger. Yes, Little Miss Chocolate. Thank you. Yes, the Mayo Clinic, the Hellman's crew. That would be them. That would be them. They're in a constant state of rage, always angry and mad, and walking around bitter with black people, though we've done nothing to them. We have done absolutely nothing to them. But this is what they do. And this is why. Just take a look at them. All you have to do is sit back and observe them, and you'll see for yourself the ridiculousness of it all. That they actually think they're superior and supreme. The sad thing is, and the truth of it all is, no, they don't. They don't. They know they're not superior and supreme. They know this, clearly. They know they are not superior. And this is why they go around and create these hate groups talking about white power. White power. That's how they say it. They'll go around and create these hate groups and pretend to be superior and pretend to think that's who they are and what they are. But deep down inside, they know they aren't, because if they were so superior and so supreme, and if they actually thought it, they would have no reason to hate on black people. I promise you that. They would have no reason to be mad at us, to be walking around here trying to get in our business, always trying to down talk us. And here's the thing. Now that they have been called out on their BS, now they're trying to turn the tables and say that all the people who are going around saying no anti-black racism are the real racists. You know why they're so mad about the term no anti-black racism? You know why that makes them so mad? Because that specifically refers to us. You see, they can't put anybody else in there. They can't lump anyone else in with us when we say that. Because when we talk about racism, they try to throw themselves in the punch bowl also, right? They try to say that people are being racist against them. They try to talk about, you know, the Asians or the Mexicans, whoever. They try to, and the Native Americans. They try to put all of them in there. But when we say no anti-black racism, and we're specifically talking about ourselves, notice how they always get so upset and mad when we say anything only pertaining to us. I also find it strange, as I was thinking, that the three letters that really tick them off more than anything are BLM, for Black Lives Matters. That gets them so upset and in such a frenzy, right? But yet, the three letters KKK don't offend them at all. That doesn't offend them. I love you too, Nikki Nicole. That doesn't offend them. No, KKK, that's fine. And I also find it entertaining that just a few years ago, the FBI tried to label people as black identity extremists just because people were speaking out and against white non-supremacists. They tried to label us as a threat, as a terrorist organization, but yet they've never officially labeled the Klan as such, when they've actually gone out and murdered, killed, blown up people and all kinds of stuff, okay? Committed federal crimes even. You know what they have them listed as, right? A Christian organization. Yeah, look it up. That's what the Klan is listed as, a Christian organization. That's what they're listed as. Hey, Roxy. Eris Roxy. Yeah, that's what they're labeled as. So, with that all being said, just look at these degenerates. They are clearly a bunch of degenerates, okay? Carrying out these depraved activities. They don't want to do anything but annihilate black people from the earth because, hey, that will make them feel better about themselves. You see, in order for them, if you ever notice a bully when you were in school, the bully would always pick on the smaller person, the person who was defenseless against them. They would do that to make themselves feel good, to make themselves look good, to make it seem as though they were bigger and badder than everyone else. Also for attention. But it was mainly because it made them feel good about themselves, to know that all of the inferior things and all the insecurities that they had about themselves, they could just dump that on someone else and then they would feel better. This is what racist white people do. They have to talk down on black people. They have to say we're ugly. Remember the other day when they tried to lynch that black man out there at the lake? They said he had nappy hair. They love to say that. They love to tell us we have nappy hair. They love to say you can't work here if you have locks in your hair, if you have twists, if you have braids, if you have an afro. They love to talk about our hair. That's because they know that they have dog fur. They know that they get fleas just like a dog, only they call it lice. Same thing. They know this. So with that being said, they hate black people because we are what and who they really want to be. I don't care what they say. They can deny it all they want. I told you, I even saw a Klansman with locks like mine. Now, my thing is, if you hate a people so much and you think they're so inferior and they're such degenerates and dreads of society and you literally can't stand them and want to kill them off, why would you try to be like them and emulate the things that they do? Why would you borrow their swag? Why would you try to dance like them, sing like them, dress like them, talk like them, walk like them, and even cover your skin with 3 shades of makeup darker than your own face to look like them? I'm just asking. Sounds like they want to be like us. It really sounds to me like they admire us. Okay? But they don't want to admit it to themselves. They don't want to admit it to themselves. Racism really, in all actuality, racism is nothing more than jealousy and envy. That's all it is. That's all it is. Why do you think they come on our pages and talk trash and just troll and start things to try to take us off focus? You know, to try to just start their own narrative and to call us what they are. They do this out of anger and bitterness. They hate the fact that we age gracefully, that we are stronger genetically, and they know this. This is why they harvest our organs. Why do you think all these black people are coming up missing? Why do you think that when they killed the kids for adrenochrome, they even said this in Hillary's emails? Okay, that I read to you on my Elite Pedophile documentary. They even said that black people's adrenochrome or pineal gland is more creamier. And all of these things, yes. They want to absorb our energy. I saw a picture the other day someone posted on Twitter. It was a young black child. I think he may have been adopted by this white woman, which I'm totally against, by the way. But he looked to be about 8 or 9 years old. And she was like up on his back, hugging him so tightly. She was absorbing his energy. Pay attention. That's what they do. If you notice, when you see them often, when they see you in the streets or in the grocery stores or whatever, if you have locks in your hair or whatever, braids or whatever, they'll come up and try to touch your hair without even asking. They'll just walk up because, see, first of all, they don't think they have to ask because they still consider us as pets. You know, back during slavery, many of them owned our ancestors and they would buy them as pets for their children. Yes, they would buy their little children a black child, for the child to carry them around on their backs, for the child to be at their beck and call. These are the things they did, right? So they still think that we're their little pets, okay? They even had black zoos for people, I'm sure you know. But yes, they will walk up to you out of the blue and go and try to touch your hair or touch you. Notice how the cops, when they address black people, when they encounter black people, they always want to put their hands on you. I told you this before. They want to absorb your energy. They want to consume your energy. This is why they used to eat our ancestors. They still eat black people today. It wasn't just Jeffrey Dahmer. He's just the one that got out in the media. He's just the one that was told on. But they still eat black people. Trust me. They do it. No, Ali, I'm going to look for it today. I was very busy yesterday. I had a lot of work to do. So I didn't get a chance. But I will definitely look for it today, okay? Thanks for reminding me, by the way. Renee said that literally happened to me. Really? That happened to me, putting their hands in my hair. Yes, I'm telling you, this is what they do. Yes, true. They also stand too close in the store and drive close. They have bad spatial awareness. Yes, they do. And here's the thing. They not only have bad spatial capacity, and they will walk up to you and just get all up on you and everything, breathing down your neck, literally. When you say something to them, they don't want to say, excuse me. They don't want to do that. But they want to to be all up on you. Like, why are you all in my space? Yeah, they have a habit of doing that. They certainly do. Facts. That's why they got the Christians taking communion. Yes, absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up. Yes, that is so true. Thank you for the bitter truth. Jeffrey Dahmer was caught. Exactly. Yes. Well, yes, he was caught. But what I'm saying is that's the reason the story about Jeffrey Dahmer was in the media. That's the reason that story even came out. Because here's the thing. A lot of these serial killers get caught and they don't tell all the depraved things that they do. Trust me. They don't tell all the things they do. And you often don't find out about these things that they did until years later when somebody writes a book or some detective that worked on the case decides to come forward. These are the things they hide. But like I said, it wasn't just Jeffrey Dahmer eating people, okay? It was David Nielsen also was eating people. Many of them were cannibals. Many of them. And also necrophiliacs as well. Yes, that's right. A.V. the Greats. This is why my grandparents never said a thing about the demonic acts of cannibalism in the South. Right. White Lives Matter Facebook page got hijacked. I don't know who did it. Good. But the Caucasoids were big mad. I bet they were. They are jealous, envious, covetous, and everything else they do. Yes, absolutely, Aries. Now social distancing will hopefully keep them away. Not for long. They'll be back soon. You know what? No matter what, they have to be in our business. They can't help themselves. They know who they can touch and who they can't. Yep. Let me tell you something. These people are wicked, demonic entities, and that is no exaggeration. I'm not saying that as a euphemism. I'm saying it because it is literally true. This is what they are and who they are. And they despise us. And they, like I said, they want to absorb our energy. They need our organs because they know that we have stronger organs because of our melanin. And right now, they're doing all type of testing on melanin. And here's the thing, people. I want you to pay attention. Now, here's something that you can look up. When they use sunscreen, right? You know sunscreen has melanin in it. My question is, where are they getting that melanin from? Where are they getting that melanin from that they're putting in their sunscreen? This is what's in there. Vlad ate his victims right off the stake. Yes, Vlad the Impaler. Yes, he absolutely did. Vlad the Impaler. Yes, he did. He ate his victims right off the stake. Absolutely. Like a shish kebab. Like a human shish kebab. That's what he did. You're absolutely right. They're complaining about social distancing. Let them walk amongst themselves. Mistakes are maskless and pass on that nonsense to each other. Yes. Listen. The thing I find so funny is, you know, you see all of these videos going around on social media where you see the Mayo Clinic walking around without their mask on. And in fact, there was a woman just the other day who went in, I believe it was a Costco's, and they asked her to put on her mask because everyone else working there had on a mask. She refused. They told her they would call the police. She said call them. She was not going to put on her mask. They asked her to leave. She goes and sits in the middle of the floor. This is an older white woman. She goes, Susan. She goes and sits in the middle of the floor, refuses to leave. But yet, there was a black couple, two black guys sitting in a restaurant eating their food. Now, they wore masks in there, but when they sat down to eat, of course, they took it off. This white woman comes walking up to them all in their business, asking them, where are their masks? Like they literally think we have to answer to them. Asking them, where are their masks? And scolding them. When he told her he took it off to eat, and then he asked her, look at the white guy over there. You didn't ask him where's his mask. My thing is this. First of all, why does she care? And if she was so concerned about them spreading any type of germs or the virus, why did she walk up to them and get close? I mean, hey, social distancing could save your life someday, fool. Why did she stay 6 feet away? But no, she walks over to their table, then has the audacity or the caucasity to ask them why they didn't have on a mask. I would have asked her, why the hell are you in my face? Okay? Why are you within less than 6 feet of me? That's what they should have asked her. Yes, and where is the check? Management should have called the police on them the same way they called the police on us. Yes. Males get on my damn nerves and such so much. Yes, they absolutely do. Speaking of call the police, let me all tell you about the coon. Now, you all remember the guy, Christian Cooper, who was the black bird watcher? And Karen called the police on him and lied and acted like he was trying to attack her and all this stuff. Well, you know they pressed charges on her. I told you about it yesterday, right? But no, there's more. Do you know that he has refused to cooperate with the police? Yes, he is not cooperating with the police, honey. He does not want this white woman to go to jail, even though she tried to have him publicly lynched. He doesn't want to cooperate. I thought that was so crazy. Bird watcher not cooperating with probe into Central Park Karen. Let me tell you about this. Let's get into it. Because I find this so silly and unsettling. What kind of coonish behavior is this? The man at the center of the Central Park Karen fiasco has said he will not cooperate with the Manhattan District Attorney's investigation. Thank you, Food Delight TV by Ayinki, for subscribing. Okay, so listen, they said that he refuses to cooperate, and Christian Cooper also told the New York Times on Tuesday that Amy Cooper, age 41, has suffered enough since the May encounter that destroyed her career and her reputation. What kind of soft batch Negro is this? Okay. Amy Cooper was charged on Monday with falsely reporting an incident in the 3rd degree. On the one hand, she's already paid a steep price, says Christian, age 57. He told the paper, referring to the criminal charge. That's not enough. He said that's not enough of a deterrent to others. The avid bird watcher bringing her more misery just seems like piling it on. He said, so if the DA feels the need to pursue charges, he should pursue charges. But he can do that without me. Adding that greater principles are at stake. In a now viral May video that sparked national outrage, Amy, a white woman, tells the bird watcher she's going to call the cops and tell them that there's an African-American man threatening my life. Please tell them whatever you like, Christian said, who is no relation. And he tells her, just please go ahead. She is then seen taking out her cell phone, telling police, I'm in the ramble and an African-American man with a bicycle helmet is recording me and threatening my dog. She continues, there's an African-American man. I'm in Central Park. He's recording me and threatening myself and my dog. The woman starts to shake and says, I'm sorry, I can't hear. I'm being threatened by a man in the ramble. Please send the cops immediately. Amy Cooper, who later apologized for the incident, was fired from her job at the investment firm Franklin Templeton. She is set to be arraigned in October and could face up to a year in prison for the 911 call. She's not going to get any time in prison. No wonder her attorney said she wasn't going to do any time. She was going to be found not guilty. Because this fool, this coon, he said she suffered enough. Now, keep in mind that when this woman called the police, first of all, anytime the police are called on a black person, there is always a danger of them being shot and killed while unarmed, or at least beaten, tased, or some way brutalized. There's always a danger of any of those things happening. With that being said, the danger is even more so threatened when you say that the person is attacking you and you're a white woman, which is what she did. She said that this man was attacking her and her dog and she was so afraid, send the police immediately. Now, she was literally saying all of that and she kept insinuating, or not insinuating, but she kept reiterating the fact that he was African American. She wanted the police to know it's a black man doing this, so that he would be shot when they got there. That's what that was. But yet he says that she has suffered enough because she's been humiliated and lost her job. Where do they get these coons? Where do they get these coons? He's not on code. Absolutely not. He's on code with white non-supremacy. That's what he's on code with. Being nice and loving in the face of white supremacy does not work. No, it doesn't. It clearly does not. Here's the thing. They will still turn on you. But the coons don't seem to know that, can't seem to realize it. They don't care about you kissing their butt, and licking their boots. They're still going to turn on you. Because the one thing that white non-supremacists do know is that any black person who will throw their own people under the bus will throw them under the bus. This is how they think. Even though coons are not going to throw white people under the bus. But this is how they view it. First of all, they have no love for black people, period. Not even the coons. The only thing they love is the way that they can use them to push their agendas and narratives. With that being said, they're never going to go and stand in defense of a coon. They're not going to do it. Thank you, Amara, for your contribution. You are greatly appreciated. Peace and blessings to you. They're not going to do it. And the fact that he doesn't want this now, after all of this outpouring of support that he got from the black community, but he's going to slap us in the face by saying he's not going to cooperate with the police. He doesn't feel she should be punished. She's had enough, he says. Well, clearly, if the police had arrived on the scene and shot him dead while unarmed, that would have been more than enough for her. She would have been perfectly fine with that. Okay? Did you see the fiasco that she put on? This is all so ridiculous. We want punishment as PBT states, and it should be charged as a hate crime. Yes, it should. But I'm going to tell you something, people. I'm going to tell you something that I find interesting. Pay attention. They're likely not going to charge her simply because he's not cooperating, right? But you do know that there are cases when someone has an altercation and the witness may not want to cooperate. But what does the state do? They go ahead and pursue the case anyway because they have a right to do so. They're not going to do that against a white woman, surely. They're not going to do it. A dog that will carry a bone is a dog that will take one. Absolutely. If I see him in Central Park, I will slap him with a bird. Okay, Nuri B. He may have a Caucasian wife or girlfriend. Oh, yes, he likely does. He likely does. And you know something, speaking of that, the black guy who was with his 5 white friends at the lake in Bloomington, Indiana, yeah, they said that he dates Becky also. His girlfriend's name is Becky. So, yes, that would explain why he was out there with all of those white folk with just himself. Right? They would turn on him because Christian Cooper is weak. Christian Cooper has not seen the postcards with lynchings. And he's making it bad for all of us. Yes, he is. You know, here's the thing, though. Notice that these coons, even when white non-supremacists do these type of things to them, they will still defend them. But now you let a black person had attacked him, assaulted him, or did anything to him, he would be filing charges right as we speak. He would be willing to testify. He would be out here just making such a big to-do about it. I promise you. That's what he would be doing. That's what he would be doing. He could have a white boyfriend. Yeah, that too, Lena. Absolutely. Let's not leave that narrative out. That incident at the lake was a get out situation. Yes, it was. But you know what the sad thing is? These coons are not going to learn. Now, when Jordan Peele put that movie out, that was more like a documentary. It was like really like a true story. Like literally showing you the things that go on behind closed doors and in the depraved minds of these psychotic people. Black people still doing the same stuff. And even the guy who played in the movie, Daniel Kaluuya, whatever his name is, he started dating the Becky that was in the movie with him. So clearly, he didn't catch the hints. He didn't read the memo. Please. He'd be singing like a canary against a black person in court. Yes, that's what they will do. This is what they will do. And speaking of singing like a canary, have you all seen the outpouring of support that the white non-supremacists have been giving Terry Crews lately? Or should I say Terry Screws? Now, I talked on my broadcast last night about how he got into that heated debate with Don Lemon and sat there, you know, and just trying to paint this narrative that Black Lives Matters, people who say that, who say Black Lives Matters, that they are really the next oppressors is what he was trying to spew. The next oppressors, yes, and saying that they're also supremacists. This man is clearly pushing an agenda for white non-supremacists. How can he dare even compare black people to these fools? Black people have not gone out here and lynched anyone, not bombed anyone's churches, killing their kids. They have not entered a white church and prayed with people and then killed them moments later. They have not committed mass shootings on immigrants in El Paso, Texas. They have not written full-on manifestos about why they want to kill off black people and immigrants. Okay? And here's the thing, I want you to pay attention. You see how they always paint the narrative? Now listen, when we complain about systemic and institutionalized oppression and racism, when we talk about these things, white people will say that we are just, you know, trying to blame them for our shortcomings. They'll say there are plenty of black people who are wealthy, plenty of black people who do good. Why don't you get up off of your butts, pull yourself up by your shoestrings, and da-da-da. All the stuff they say, right? Stop playing the victim card. Stop playing the race card. Nobody's racist. These are the things they utter. But here's the thing I find so interesting. When we do complain about these things, we have a legit gripe. We have a good reason for saying these things because they're all true. There's information and documentation, evidence, receipts, and invoices to prove everything is substantiated. That we're clearly not making these things up. And so when you start asking them to drop receipts to be contrary to that, they never have any. They'll just simply start deflecting. But what I find is so interesting is that people like Patrick Crusius and other mass shooters, they kill black people or even the immigrants like he did in El Paso, Texas. They do this because, as he said in his manifesto, these people are here to replace them. They have a whole book, as I told you about, written by Renard Camus, the Frenchman, the French member of LGBTQ over in France. They have a whole book called The Great Replacement, or You Will Not Replace Me. They blame black people and immigrants for taking their jobs. This is what they say. So who's playing the victim here? These poor white trash hillbilly racist demons, they don't want to blame the real people who are the cause of their problems, which is themselves. They themselves are the cause of their own problems. When you're born with white privilege and a 400+ year head start, you have no excuse to be in a bad predicament other than being sorry and just good for nothing. Black people, on the other hand, we were enslaved for years. We are still discriminated against, and we still have to fight for justice, and we're still being killed off by racist demons on a daily. We have numerous things and numerous reasons, not excuses, reasons, legit gripes, while they only have nothing but excuses as to why their lives suck. Now, Patrick Crusius went out there and killed all those people because he said that they were taking the jobs away from white people. And they even tried to say that we're trying to perpetuate white genocide. They have a t-shirt that white people made that says they said code words. They said when we use words like Black Lives Matters, we're saying white lives don't matter. When we use words like no anti-black racism, we're really saying white genocide. This is what they say. This is what they say. I saw one of them with a t-shirt. They had it on just yesterday. This is what they say, people. They put their parents in nursing homes or move across the country and leave them on their own. Yes, they do. They absolutely do. They kill each other for insurance money. But they don't talk about that. They just want to linger on black and black crime. Black on black crime, so they say. And I made a mistake when I told you all that the white people killing each other was 83.4%, and black people was 86.4%. It's actually the white people killing each other. The rate has gone up. It's 85%. Sorry. Let me correct that. Yes. 85% of them kill each other. Okay? Almost equal with black people. But yet there's black on black crime. But you never hear the words white on white crime. Okay, white people, please. What about white on everybody crime? What about that? What about that? Why don't they talk about it? And here's the thing I find so funny. They love to spew the narrative of black on black crime, which are crimes that black people commit amongst each other. But then they want to say that we're racist, and then they say that we're the main ones who kill white people. No, I'm sorry. 85% of white people killed are killed by other white people. And if we were so busy killing white people, I'm quite sure we wouldn't have the problem with black people killing ourselves, one another. Okay? But all races kill their own race. All races do that. But like I said, nothing but propaganda, just a way to demonize us in the media, to make us look like the bad guys all over the globe. This is what they do. The truth of the matter is, everyone knows their history. Most people know their history, though they've tried to hide it. Everyone knows how they've raped, robbed, and stolen and committed genocide everywhere that they have gone. They are not indigenous to anywhere on the planet. Nowhere are they indigenous to. Okay? Wherever they are, they came there and took the land and got rid of the original people. just like they did in Ireland, excuse me, like they did in Ireland, because the original Irish were black, just like they did in Australia. The indigenous people of Australia are black, just like they did here in America. The original indigenous people were black. Okay? This is what they do from sea to shining sea. Like the songs they sing. This is what they do. But they want to act like everyone else is so wicked and such a problem. And then they sit there and talk about black people being racist and that they're not racist when they're actually being racist as they speak. Clearly psychopathic behavior. Clearly. Anyway, these people make no sense. Anything to make us look bad. People need to stop watching white media until they change the narrative. They need to start plastering white criminal faces on screens. Yes, they do. Amazingly, when white people go out and commit crime, the news media does not go digging up any dirt about them. In fact, they will say nice complimentary things about demons and devils who commit mass murders, who commit serial killings, who commit feticide, right? And all of these things, yes, who kill unborn babies, kill their small children, kill their pregnant wives. They will say flattering things about them. Remember the guy who killed like 33 people in the movie theater at the Batman movie years ago? The first thing they did was show the picture of him in his tuxedo from prom or his senior pictures and said that he was a good science student. Who cares what kind of grades he made in science? He just slaughtered over 30 people. But this is what they do. Meanwhile, a black person could be completely justified in killing someone. And they will talk about them like a dog and dig up any dirt that they can find and then add to the narrative to make it even worse. This is what they do. This is what they do. The news media, the lamestream media, makes up stories out of thin air. There is documented evidence of this. If you're watching the lamestream media, you seriously need to reconsider and possibly have your head examined. Because I promise you, they make up stories out of thin air. They make up stories about the black community. Max Weber, a very good journalist who's now dead, before he died, he said one of the things that he hated the most about being in the news media was the stories and lies that they had to make up on the African American community. This is what he said. This is what he said. And so that being said, we know who owns all of the media, right? We know who owns all of the media outlets. So if they own all of the media outlets, who's going to be able to tell the stories? They will. But see, now that the new black news media, thank you for your contribution, Tech Zone. You are greatly appreciated. Peace and blessings to you. But so now that the new black news media has come on the scene and is changing the narrative and telling the truth, what happens? They want to silence you. They want to censor you. Certain things you can't say. If you tell too much truth, they'll take down your videos. They'll shadow ban your pages. These are the things that happen. Anything to keep the truth from being heard. Because the lies that they tell will then become unraveled. And people will start to see exactly who and what they are. Okay? This is what will happen. So, you know, all of the slick things that they do. And let me tell you some people, they do so many things that you probably don't even know about, a lot of you. Let me give you an example. I went to a movie theater years ago. And I think the movie Paid in Full, I can't remember what movie was out. It was a black movie that I was there to see. They sold me a ticket to see the movie The Santa Claus 2 by Tim Allen, with Tim Allen starred in it. I don't want to see no darn Santa Claus 2, but they gave me that ticket. Because what they do is when you go to movie theaters, they will sell you a ticket for a movie that you didn't even ask to see, just so that movie does better at the box office. And so the black movie will look like it flopped. When they may have sold millions of tickets to the black movie, but they gave the people tickets to a white movie. And you likely don't even notice this, because how many of us look at ticket stubs? You just take their stuff and go on and hand it to the persons for them to rip, right? So you may not even notice it. And then if you even do, you still may not say anything, because you'll just think, oh, they made a simple mistake, and you'll just go and give your ticket and go on in. If and when you see that they're giving you a ticket, make sure you check them, because if there's a black movie out, I'm telling you, they want the black movie to do terrible, and unless it's a movie that, you know, the elites people are in cahoots with. Like if it's a movie like Harriet Tubman, right? Where they're clearly trying to make Tubman into a coon and trying to make the racist white devil in the movie the hero and make the black man the bad guy. If it's something like that, is that type of black movie? Oh, yes. They will sell you the tickets for that. But if it's anything empowering and anything telling the truth of what they do to black people, or just something that will possibly enlighten black people or inspire black people or whatever, or shows us in a positive light, those are the types of movies that they will try to stifle. So pay attention to your chicken stubs, because these are the things that they do. These are the things that they do. We should boycott their rubbish. Yes, and we should absolutely, those of you who go to Starbucks should boycott them. Period. Starbucks at this point should be completely canceled. Now they have a history of being caught up in the racism. And this is just a few times they have gone viral on social media. Imagine the numerous times they've done racist things to black people when it hasn't even been reported and it went undetected. Imagine that. And let's not forget that when they did that to the black man a couple of years ago, they claimed they were going to have diversity training. Remember, they all closed down. I believe it was on May the 9th. And they said they were going to have diversity training or whatever. Well, obviously, you can see that didn't work. Just like we knew it wouldn't, because you cannot train people not to be racist. That's something that is ingrained in them. That's just who they are and what they want to be. So there's no training and reform that's going to solve that. So that clearly shows that that doesn't work. Okay? Well, Denise, if you love Starbucks, that's fine. Continue to serve them or continue to patronize them. I mean, hey, obviously you love them more than you love yourself or your people if you have to continue to eat there or buy their coffee or whatever. That's basically what you're saying. Look at what Becky, and she admitted it to her. She did her beautiful black woman in cotton. Yes, yes, absolutely. Yes, I remember that. Now, how disgusting. First of all, who thinks of that? Sick and depraved people, that's who. Who even sits there and thinks of that and dredges up that much hate for someone who's done nothing to them? Yes, they congratulate their mass murderers and condemn us. They talk about us like we're so terrible. You know, here's the thing. I want you to pay attention to the fact that black people, for whatever reason, are held to a higher standard than everybody else. Does anybody ever notice that? They hold us to a higher standard than anyone else. If we complain about the police killing us, they say, well, black people kill black people. As though that's an excuse for the police to kill us. As if that's a reason for us not to complain about what the police are doing. They don't say that about any other group. If the police kill a white person, if they kill an Asian person, they don't say, well, Asians kill one another, white people kill one another. They don't say, well, look at all the mass shooters. Look at all the mass shooters. They kill numerous white people. They don't say anything like that, but they want to hold us to a higher standard. I find that so funny when they are the most wicked demons and devils. Thanks, Erica, for your contribution. Higher Learning, Michael Rappaport played Remy. Yes, he did, Erica. And thanks for your donation, sweetie. You are greatly appreciated. Peace and blessings to you. Yes, Michael Rappaport played Remy in Higher Learning, the mass shooter. The thing is this. They don't say anything about the nefarious things they do. But they're always trying to put down black people. And they try to make all of these excuses to justify the things that they do to us. See, they have to try to rationalize in their little minds, and they have to try to justify for everyone else that's sitting back watching. Oh, well, yeah, the police killed that black person, but after all, he was resisting. But they don't say anything when white people resist. And like I told you all on the video with the white guy who had the shootout with the cops and killed 2 of them, but they still miraculously took him in alive. But kill unarmed black people at traffic stops every day. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I told you all I went on that website and I looked up that you can get gas at the gas station for $1. Self-defense is common sense. Yes, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. Okay? But listen, I told you all how they'll sit up there and kill a black person for little to nothing, right? But a white person can pull a gun on them, a knife on them. I saw a video the other day. They told this white guy numerous times to drop his weapon. He had a gun. They kept telling him numerous of times to drop the gun. He refused. The black people who were witnessing it all kept saying, go ahead, shoot him, light him up. If he was black, he'd have been dead already. So true. They finally ended up shooting him, and I don't even think they killed him. They shot him like 3 or 4 times. Unlike the 10 to 14 times they shoot black people. Thank you for Up to Heaven. Thank you for your contribution. You are greatly appreciated. Peace and blessings unto you. But they shot him like 4 times and he fell to the ground and he didn't look like he was dead. But the thing is this, they didn't shoot him until they absolutely had to. When he pulled his gun, pointed it and aimed and was about to pull the trigger, that's when they shot him. Prior to that, you should have seen it. They were running around, hiding behind the car, trying to take cover, hiding behind a telephone pole. I mean, peeping from bushes. Like 4 cops. They were all whites. They did not want to shoot this man. It was so obvious that they were on code. They were on code. But these same demons, and this is how you know the criminal justice system is all BS. This is how you know it is all BS. Because they can carry on like this as it pertains to a white devil with a gun in their hand. But a black person unarmed scares the hell out of them to the point that they have to shoot them 10 and 20 times. Like Laquan McDonald. When he lay on the ground, the officer stood over him, continuously shooting him. These are the things they do to black people. But they don't get indicted. And even when they are, they're found not guilty by white juries. Juries full of white people and maybe 1 or 2 coons. This is how you know it's all a sham. It's not just the police. Like I told you, the prosecutors engage in prosecutorial misconduct many of the times. The judges, in fact, are also corrupt many of the times. There was one judge who was sentenced just a few years ago. Thank you, Ever a King, for your contribution. Hello, my very beautiful and extraordinary sister. Thank you for your kind words, and your donation is so appreciated. Peace and blessings unto you. So there was a judge that was arrested and charged and sentenced to 28 years in prison because he was selling, literally selling young teenage black boys to prisons, to private prisons. And whether you know it or not, they have a contract to keep those private prisons full. In fact, it was a few years ago when the people who had invested in these private prisons were talking about suing because they weren't being filled up. Yeah, talking about suing. So when you have, how is this not slavery? When you have people going to prison for profit, when you have people investing in private prisons, that should be absolutely illegal. How are you allowed to invest in a prison? How are you allowed to do that? Because that clearly gives you the incentive to put people in there for no reason. And they love to say that black people are committing all the crimes. No, we're not. No, we're not. White people, if you do the statistics, they're the ones committing all of the crimes. They are the ones who commit the most rapes, sexual assaults, pedophilia, arsons, white-collar crimes where they're taking millions of dollars from taxpayers, embezzling money, having Ponzi schemes. They're doing all of it. This is them. Mortgage fraud, bank fraud, you name it. It's them. Thank you, Douglas Newsom, for your contribution. You are greatly appreciated. Peace and blessings to you. You name it. This is what they are doing. At the end of the day, they are also the biggest mass shooters, serial killers. Okay? Now, the things that black people may beat them in are burglary, armed robbery, right? Crimes of opportunity, crimes of these, although these are violent crimes, armed robbery is a violent crime, but these are poor people. And I'm not making excuses. What I'm saying is when people who go out and rob and commit burglary, well, those are people who are likely poor and they're taking from people because of their situation, which many of the poor black people who are destitute, who live in ghettos and all of those things, well, why do they live there? This is where society has placed them, is it not? I mean, hey, when you send people to prison, whether they did something to deserve to go there or whether they were falsely or wrongly accused or whatever, but when they go and they serve their time and then they get out and you still have them in prison just on the outside of the building, but they're still in prison because they have a parole officer that they have to visit. They have certain things that they have to do, and they have to do these things for years very often. So they're limited in where they can go and what they can do. They can't carry a gun to defend themselves. They have no right to vote and all the things that they are not afforded. But here's the thing. In other countries other than the United States, people can go to prison for even murder. Germany is one of them. People can go to prison for even murder, and when they get out, their records no longer exist because they paid their debt. But see here, that's why we call it systemic racism. Because though you did the time for the crime, you still continue to do the time for the crime once you get out. Because now you're labeled as a felon. Many jobs won't hire you. You cannot receive grants to go to school or scholarships, federal, financial aid for certain crimes. You can't, especially if it involves selling drugs. You can't. So you're further demonized and victimized. Meanwhile, white people go out here and rape children and get probation. They go out here and murder babies. Brooks Skylar Richardson, murder babies, stab them, burn them, bury them in their backyards, and they don't get any time for it. The only thing they get is desecration of a corpse, which they likely will get like 6 months for doing so. This is what happens. They go out here and rape people. Brock Turner. And they get 30 days in jail. No prison time. Because, hey, after all, he's a good athlete. They go out here and kill 4 people. Quadruple murder. Because they chose to drive drunk and hit the people and kill them. And they get no jail time. They get probation. Because they are so rich and wealthy that they don't know any difference between right and wrong. Because they suffer from a made up illness called affluenza. This is what they do. They go out here and rape a child and get 10 years probation. So they can go out here and rape another child, like they did Christopher Barrios. And then after they raped him, they murdered him. So this time there's no witnesses. These are the things they do. But they want to paint us as the victims. The police are going out here, they're supposed to be solving crime. But they're not solving crime. They're committing crime. Most of them. Not just a small amount, not just a few bad apples. Most of the apples are spoiled and rotten. Most of them, in fact. They go out here and commit the same crimes that so-called thugs on the streets are committing. And in fact, they recruit the thugs. They go and get the Latino gangs in New York and California and put them on the force. They have a gang culture among the police. They operate themselves and conduct themselves as gangs, even when they initiate people. Same tactics. But racist, devilish white people, they don't want to talk about any of those things. No, don't talk about that. Because when you talk about that, now you're anti-police. So let's change the narrative to how police are unjustly brutalizing and killing and wrongfully accusing and arresting black people. Let's not talk about that. We don't want to hear that. But instead, let's talk about how you black people are anti-police. That's what they'll say. They're good at changing the narratives. They're the best as it comes to and pertains to deflecting and gaslighting. They are the best ones. They caught that cop after 30 years of killing women. Yes. Listen, those of you who saw my true crime segment that I did on last week, I talked about the Golden State Killer who got away with his crimes for 42 years. And as it turns out, he was a police officer the entire time that he was killing, raping, robbing, and all the other sick stuff he was doing. Because not only was he killing, raping, and robbing, he was burglarizing homes, and he was committing what is known as fetish burglaries, which is where they break in to steal something that, is a part of their fetish. In his case, he was breaking in and stealing women's underwear in the beginning. That's how his crime started out, and they escalated. They got much worse later on. They went from fetish burglaries, where he was stealing underwear, to when he would break in and rape women and assault them and whoever else was in the house. Then it went on to murder. He even raped a 13-year-old and assaulted a 7-year-old. A police officer. Yes. 42 years he got away with it. I told you all numerous of times that police are often serial killers. I told you this. It's a fact. It is a fact. Also, that psychological exam that police have to take before they join the force, some of them fail it and they still get to become police officers. So what is the point of them taking it? That's just my question. Some of them actually fail the test and still get to become police officers. They actually, a few years ago, there was a white guy. He was a police officer, and do you know he had a felony charge? Imagine if they had been a black person. They probably would have locked him up for lying. I find it so funny because here's the thing. There was a black woman who lied on an application for a government job, lied about her education. She didn't lie about having been in jail or prison because she had never been there. But she did lie about her education level to get the position she wanted, I guess. Well, they found out and they put her in jail for that. They put her in jail because it was a government job, so they say. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, there was a white guy who became a police officer knowing that he had a felony. He'd actually served 10 years in prison previously. They didn't check his background, apparently, because he was on the police department. He worked there for like so many years. The only reason he got caught is because he quit that department and went to another one, and they just so happened to check his credentials and his background. And it showed that he'd served years in prison, that he was in fact a felon. A felon, yes. Okay? This is the things they get away with. So when they're sitting there talking about black people commit all these crimes, no, black people don't commit all these crimes. They commit all these crimes. It's just that they don't take the fall for them. They don't get caught, or they get caught, but they don't go to jail for them. Many a time, the police will turn a blind eye. Like the white girls who told me themselves, when I was working this job, that they were in a convenience store smoking crack and cocaine, doing drugs. And there was a couple of black girls in there doing the same thing. When the police came and raided the place, they took the black women to jail and told the white women to get out of there and go home. That's what they said. I've told you numerous stories about those cases. This is what they do. This is what they do. Do you know Mitchell Frogface is blocking our check and reparations by appointing judges to repeal law? E.g. Clarence Thomas and Joe Biden. I am not surprised. I am not surprised. And here's the thing. If they do give us reparations, it's not going to be what they owe us. It's not going to be anywhere near what they owe us. The magnitude, no. I would rather have land personally, but they're not going to give us what they owe. And then, they're, like I told you, they're trying to make us have money and also give it to the natives. Also give the natives reparations. Okay? And most of those natives are not even real natives. They are white people of European descent whose ancestors lied to get on the Dow's rolls. That's just who they are. In fact, when that white guy that I was telling you about who went to visit the grave of his ancestors and the racist Confederate men were out there, giving him hell, one of them asked him, so what about me? I'm a native. What about me and my family? You're not speaking up for us, but you're speaking up for Black Lives Matter. Here's the thing. That guy was as white as the driven snow. There's no way that he had legit Indian blood. Okay? Please. Which is also why when you ask them, when you want to join a tribe or whatever, and you ask them what's the process for joining, can you just bring DNA, your DNA test or whatever? They say no. Because they don't want to do DNA testing, because they know that if they did DNA testing, it would show that they themselves didn't have native DNA, and they know it. That's what they know. That's what they know. So they know they're lying and running a sham. Okay? So anyway, with that being said, family, I'm going to go ahead and close out this broadcast. Don't forget that you can shop fnq.com if you have any gifts that you'd like to give away to friends and family, or buy something nice for yourself. Be sure if you have questions about starting your own black business or enhancing a business that you already have, perhaps. Be sure you subscribe to flynubianbusiness.com. Also, you can subscribe to flynubianmoney.com if you have any questions about making more revenue for yourself, questions about investments and finances and anything like that. Also, don't forget to text Queens to 31996 for occasional notifications and alerts. You can also download our podcast and watch us on the go by going to iTunes and typing in the search Fly Nubian Queen Network. And don't forget that you can follow me on Instagram at Queen Ahmadiyah Shakur, on Twitter at DGoddess27, and on my own personal YouTube channel, Queen Ahmadiyah Shakur, where I go live every night at 9:30 p.m. Okay? So thank you all so much. I hope that you all have a blessed and beautiful day. And until next time, I will talk to you all again soon. Peace.